So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time. Now, this goes without saying that you have to revise this lecture just after watching it, because if you'll only watch this lecture, well, these current affairs will quickly skip your mind. You'll quickly forget them. Therefore, revision is very important and you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes shall be shared on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section below. Okay, so do check it out. Alright then, let's begin today's session. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. Okay, so let's begin. So daily current affairs, 31st of October, Friday, and here is the topics list. First of all, we'll talk about SMRs. That stands for Small Modular Reactors to Power Data Center Boom. Okay, so we'll talk about this because there was this big article in the Hindu newspaper. Then we'll talk about Rashtriya Ekta Diwas, which is celebrated every year on 31st of October. The birth anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the first Home Minister of India and a tall leader of Congress party. Okay. Then the third news item is with respect to India's air base in Tajikistan. India had to vacate its air base. India no longer has an air base in Tajikistan. So we'll talk about this issue. And in the end, we'll talk about Nauradehi Wildlife Sanctuary, which is now a place for rehabilitating cheetahs that we are importing from Africa. Okay. So we'll talk about Project Cheetah as well, and Nauradehi Wildlife Sanctuary, which is in Madhya Pradesh. Alright, so these are the four news items. Topic number 1 is related to science and technology portion of your UPSC syllabus. Topic number 2 is related to, well, history portion of your UPSC syllabus. Topic number 3 is related to international relations portion of your UPSC syllabus. And topic number 4 is related to, clearly, environment portion of your UPSC syllabus. Alright then, let's begin discussing them. Let's begin our discussion. And let's discuss these topics one by one. Okay, starting with topic number 1, and that is SMRs to power data center boom. Now listen to me very carefully. Okay, if you will, then you'll understand this topic very quickly. Now see, the thing is that, well, electricity demand is increasing day by day all over the world. Okay, and that is probably because of increase in population. So the population is increasing, demand for electricity is also increasing. But there is another reason which is contributing the most, okay, significantly to demand for electricity. Now, what is that thing? Well, most of the people are now going online. Okay, everyone is going online. There are so many digital services online, digital services that people are availing. Yes. Now, whatever is online, it requires some back-end infrastructure, and that back-end IT infrastructure is called data centers. Whatever you are using online, websites, AI, okay, chat GPT, perplexity and all, whatever you are using online, all of that requires some backend infrastructure, and that backend infrastructure is data centers. Clear? Now, because more and more people are availing online services, plus Government of India is promoting online services, e-governance. Therefore, there is high demand for data centers. The problem is that these data centers require a lot of electricity. So as more and more people are going online, well, we require more and more data centers. Okay, and the more data centers we require, the more electricity we require. So demand for electricity is increasing. The problem is, if we are going to produce more and more electricity, it can lead to more greenhouse gas emissions, which will contribute to global warming and climate change. Therefore, this increased demand for electricity should come from those sources which does not emit any carbon. Okay, and the answer is renewable energy. But the problem with renewable energy, particularly solar and wind, is intermittency. When the sun is shining during the day, solar energy would be produced. But what about nighttime? What about cloudy skies? Similarly, wind energy also. When the wind is blowing, wind energy is being produced. But what about when the air is still? Okay. Now, for that, you require big battery infrastructure to store surplus solar energy during the day and then use that stored solar energy during night. But that is very expensive. Okay. But we require power from low carbon emissions, right? So the answer that is being given nowadays is nuclear energy. But nuclear energy has its own sets of challenges. Okay. Big nuclear power plants, they are prone to risks, they are prone to safety, and all these issues are there. Therefore, the answer is small modular reactors. Small modular reactors are small nuclear power plants. Okay. And now people are saying that this extra demand because of data centers should be compensated by these small modular reactors. So with the growth of data centers, well, India has the opportunity to explore growth in small modular reactor sector as well. This is the entire issue. Now let's discuss what was discussed in the Hindu newspaper. Okay, so let's begin. So SMRs to power data center boom. So what was in the news? India's electricity demand is rapidly increasing due to rollout of data centers. Electric vehicles, they also require electricity. Green hydrogen, 5G, Internet of Things, all these things require energy. Okay. Now the answer to these things is small modular reactors, because I told you that we can't use coal because of carbon emissions, and we entirely can't use solar and wind because solar and wind have this problem of intermittency. So the answer that people are now exploring, especially tech companies are now exploring, is small modular reactors. Okay. Now first let's talk about data centers. So why is there high demand for data centers? Remember, data centers is the back end infrastructure for everything online. Back end IT infrastructure. Okay. Now the key drivers of demand for data centers in India. Well, government's Digital India program. Okay. Plus, government has decided that all of this online data would not be stored outside India. It would be stored inside India. Earlier, Google used to store data of Indians in USA. Government doesn't want that. This is known as data localization. Google also has to store Indian data in India. That requires data centers. Okay. Data localization policies has increased data consumption in India. Okay. Plus, we need data centers to enable adoption of technologies like AI, Internet of Things, 5G, etc. Now, here is the irony. India has twice the number of internet users than Europe, but India has less data centers. India's data center capacity is less. That is why most of Indian data is stored abroad. Clear? So we need to increase data centers. And the news is good. The growth is good. India's data center capacity might grow by 2 to 3 times by 2027 and 5 times by 2030. So there is increased appetite for data centers. But like I said before, data centers require electricity, power, and that power should come from low carbon emissions. Right? Now, the power challenge. The thing is, these data centers require a lot of electricity. You see, earlier when we were only using websites and apps, okay, the data centers were not that complicated and they required less electricity. But now we are using AI tools, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and so many like them. These AI tools require graphics processing units, GPUs, for doing calculations, computations. And that is why they consume a lot of power. So there is high demand. Okay. Power demand for data centers is going to double, more than double by 2030. Plus, the kind of power we need is low carbon. But the problem with low carbon power is that mostly it is renewable energy, and renewable energy suffers from intermittency. That is why we are experimenting with, well, green hydrogen, small modular reactors, geothermal energy. And tech companies are most excited about small modular reactors. So first, let's talk about these small modular reactors, okay? So small modular reactors are those nuclear reactors whose power generation capacity is less than 300 megawatts. Generally, conventional nuclear reactors produce around 700 to 1000 megawatt electric. Okay, small modular reactors produce small power. Okay, plus the reason why they are called modular, you understand why they are called small, because they produce very less electricity, 300 megawatt per unit. Modular, why? Reactors are built in factories as standardized modules and then shipped to the site for assembly. So you manufacture the parts and then you transport those light parts to the site and they are assembled over there. So this reduces the cost. Okay. Then scalability. Power output can be increased by installing multiple SMRs. So they are scalable, they are flexible, they can be installed anywhere. You don't need special site for them. Plus the benefits, especially for data centers, is SMRs provide crucial benefits such as flexible sizing, factory manufacturing capability, cost reduction, safety enhancements in the new designs, and stable baseload power production. What do you mean by stable? No intermittency. No intermittency, which was the case with solar and wind. So this is the biggest benefit. Okay. But SMRs, everything is not good with SMRs. There are some challenges also in SMRs. Okay. First of all, in India, there are some legal challenges. current licensing framework, you need to have a license to operate nuclear reactors. Our current licensing laws favor large reactors over SMRs. That is why we need amendments to our regulations. So this is there. Then, yes, the cost comes down as far as SMRs are concerned, but one-time cost is still there. Okay, operational cost is low, but one-time cost is high. Plus, there is this issue of nuclear waste disposal, okay, and transportation risk, because we are going to manufacture parts and then transport them to site. Now, factory fabricated units require secure transportation. Okay, some terrorists can basically hijack a truck and steal away all the nuclear fuel. This is a risk. So these are some of the risks, but they're easy to take care of. Government can take care of these risks. The only thing that the government needs to do is clear these regulatory bottlenecks and use SMRs to power data center demand in India. This is very useful. All right. Okay. Now let's quickly shift our focus to second news item, and that is Rashtriya Ekta Diwas, which basically translates into National Unity Day. Now, National Unity Day is celebrated every year on 31st October to commemorate the birth anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the first Home Minister of India and a tall Congress leader and a freedom fighter. Okay. Now, the reason why we celebrate National Unity Day on the birth anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel is because, as Home Minister, his contributions are immense when it comes to unity and integrity of India. India had around 500 princely states. They all were integrated into India, and there were some complicated princely states like Junagadh, Hyderabad, Jammu and Kashmir. They were all basically integrated into India, and his hard work and his efficiency was basically pivotal in making sure that India stands united, especially after the bloody partition of Pakistan, right? That is why we celebrate his birth anniversary as National Unity Day. Now, this year is the 150th birth anniversary, and that is why Ministry of Culture basically celebrated this day with a lot of pomp and show. So much so that Prime Minister Narendra Modi also visited this event and praised Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. By the way, you should remember this, that to commemorate or to basically say that the contributions of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel were immense, huge. Well, India created the tallest statue of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel on the banks of Narmada River in Gujarat. And that statue is also called Statue of Unity. It is the tallest statue in India. Okay? And it is called Statue of Unity for a particular reason, because of his contributions towards unity of India. Right? At that Statue of Unity, well, these celebrations were being done by Ministry of Culture, where PM Modi also spoke about National Unity Day. Okay, so this is the background. But what is important for us? Well, the contributions of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, we need to take a look at that, because a question can be asked, right? So let's talk about this. So Rashtriya Ekta Diwas, National Unity Day, which is 31st October, birth anniversary of Sardar Patel. Okay, now what was in the news? PM Modi paid his tribute to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel on the occasion of Rashtriya Ekta Diwas at the Statue of Unity located on Narmada River in Gujarat. Ministry of Culture is organizing grand cultural performances on Rashtriya Ekta Diwas to commemorate 150th birth anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. This is the statue. As you can see, it dwarfs everything around it. This is Narmada River and this is Statue of Unity, okay, of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Now, about Sardar Patel, so he was born, as we know now, he was born on 31st October 1875 in Nadiad, Gujarat. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel began his career as a successful lawyer. But then he got involved in a satyagraha with Mahatma Gandhi in Gujarat known as Bardoli Satyagraha. And from then onwards, he became a part of freedom struggle. Okay, led Bardoli Satyagraha, where his leadership earned him the title Sardar, which means the leader. That's why he's called Sardar. Okay, served as president of Indian National Congress in 1931 Karachi session, where he guided the party during turbulent times following Bhagat Singh's execution by the British. Okay, he's also popularly known as Iron Man of India, in Hindi Loh Purush. Okay, Iron Man of India, because of his strong determination and his grit and his strength. Okay, now his contributions towards unity and integrity of India. Okay, so first contribution, the biggest contribution, is princely state integration, especially the tricky princely states like Jammu and Kashmir through instrument of accession. Okay, Junagadh, which had a Muslim ruler who wanted to join Pakistan, but a majority Hindu population, so that was there. And Hyderabad through Operation Polo, military Operation Polo. Hyderabad was integrated. These were tricky ones. The others were also difficult, but he managed to do them with relative ease. Then, well, in India, administration is taken care of by central services and state services, but he was pivotal in the establishment of all India services, for which you are preparing. IAS, IPS, these are all India services. They come both under center and state government. And he said that this is steel frame of India. Okay. So, well, powering all India services. Then his vision was strong, united and self-reliant India rooted in discipline and national integration. And to basically, we continued with that vision. Okay. So this is his role in integration. That's about it. Okay. Now let's quickly move forward to third news item, and that is a very sad news. India's air base in Tajikistan. Now we all know that as a global power, USA has multiple bases, military bases all over the world. India is also a rising power. And that is why India also wanted to project that power to secure its interests in different parts of the world. To secure India's interests in Central Asia, well, India had established an air base in Tajikistan. Okay, that air base was established by the Soviet Union, but then it was discontinued, Soviet Union disintegrated, and that air base was in ruins. But in 2001-2, India basically upgraded, renovated that air base, okay, and took it on lease from Tajikistan. Okay, so India operated that air base in Tajikistan because India renovated it. India developed it in 2001 and 2. And that lease period was for 20 years. Okay, so India controlled that. Now, in 2021, the lease was expiring and Tajikistan refused to renew that lease. People are saying this was because of pressure from Russia or China, because Russia wanted to go there. So as soon as India vacated from that airbase, Russian forces came there. So maybe it's true. I mean, there is more evidence. This is like an evidence that Russian pressure was there on Tajikistan, and that is why Tajikistan refused to renew that. So India had to vacate its one of the few military bases outside its territory. Okay. Now this air base was strategic, was significant for India. What was the significance? We'll talk about this. Okay. So let's talk. So India's air base in Tajikistan. So what was in the news? India no longer operates the strategically important Aini air base in Tajikistan that it had helped develop and run since 2002. Aini air base is strategically located air base in Tajikistan that India helped develop and operate. Okay, it was India's first overseas military facility, giving it strategic presence in Central Asia. Look over here. So this is India, this is Pakistan, this is China, and this is Tajikistan. This Dushanbe is Tajikistan's capital, and just 80 kilometers away from it was Aini Air Base. Now the lease period expired in 2021. Tajikistan refused to renew the lease. India completely vacated this in 2022. Okay. Now, this air base was significant for India because, as you can see, well, this air base allowed India surveillance over hostile Pakistan, hostile China, okay, and the entire region. This was a strategic air base. Let's talk about its strategic capability. But first, let's talk about it. Okay. So it is also known as Gisar Military Aerodrome. Originally built during Soviet era, the base fell into disuse after Soviet collapse. India redeveloped it. Funding came from Ministry of External Affairs. The base lies just west of Dushanbe, of Tajikistan's capital. Its strategic location. It is around 20 kilometers from Afghanistan Wakhan corridor. Now, what is Wakhan corridor? Okay, look over here. Wakhan corridor is very important for India. This narrow stretch of land, this piece of land, this is Wakhan corridor. Okay, this connects Afghanistan with China. This Wakhan corridor. India had eyes on this Wakhan corridor. Through that, India had eyes on Pakistan, China, its adversaries. Okay, so this is there. Plus, India can do surveillance on POK, J&K, strategic areas. Okay, now strategic importance. It gave India some foothold in Central Asia. Okay, provided India military foothold in Central Asia. Pakistan and Afghanistan, enabled surveillance and operational reach over Pakistan, Afghanistan. But very importantly, Wakhan corridor. Okay, remember Wakhan corridor and its location. Okay, an MCQ can be asked this year, so be careful. All right, and that would be all. Let's quickly shift our focus to last news item, and that is Nauradehi Wildlife Sanctuary. Now look, You must be aware of cheetahs, fastest land animal. Okay. Now, cheetahs were of two types. Okay. African cheetahs found in Africa and Asiatic cheetahs found in Asia, particularly South Asia, particularly Indian subcontinent. Now, Asiatic cheetahs became extinct from India in 1952. There are no Asiatic cheetahs in Indian subcontinent anymore. And that was the case. Now, India felt in 2021-22 that we need to reintroduce cheetahs into Indian subcontinent, but there are no Asiatic cheetahs. So what India decided to import African cheetahs and reintroduce them into Indian habitat, Indian forests. This was called Project Cheetah, and it was world's first translocation project, international translocation project of this carnivorous species called cheetahs. Clear? So under Project Cheetah, we are going to repopulate India with cheetahs, but this time around African cheetahs. Now, which are the two countries from where we will import these African cheetahs? Namibia and South Africa. Now, these African cheetahs which were imported were introduced in Kuno National Park. Then the second site for their reintroduction was Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Both are in MP. Now, a third wildlife sanctuary has been chosen, which is in Madhya Pradesh, where these African cheetahs would be reintroduced. And that is Nauradehi Wildlife Sanctuary. So that is why Nauradehi Wildlife Sanctuary was in the news, because recently Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister announced that this is the third site where African cheetahs would be introduced, apart from Kuno National Park in MP and Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Clear? So let's talk about Project Cheetah as well as Nauradehi Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay. So Nauradehi Wildlife Sanctuary. So in the news, Madhya Pradesh CM said Nauradehi Sanctuary will become the third home for cheetahs in the state after Kuno and Gandhi Sagar Sanctuary. Cheetahs will be brought from Namibia in Africa. For Nauradehi, cheetahs would be brought from Namibia, but for Kuno, cheetahs are also brought from South Africa. Okay. Now first let's talk about Project Cheetah. Okay. So Project Cheetah is an Indian government initiative to reintroduce cheetahs to India. The project is the world's first intercontinental translocation of large wild carnivorous species. It was launched on September 2022. The project involves translocating cheetahs from Namibia and South Africa. It is implemented by National Tiger Conservation Authority, and this Project Cheetah is functioning within Project Tiger, which is implemented by National Tiger Conservation Authority. The purpose is to repopulate India with cheetahs, plus to restore open forests, the habitat for cheetahs, and grassland ecosystem, and other endangered species along with cheetahs. So this is the purpose. Clear? Now let's talk about Nauradehi Wildlife Sanctuary. What is so special about it? About Nauradehi? So it is one of India's largest sanctuaries, okay, situated between Yamuna Basin and Narmada Basin, between that, okay. Major rivers flowing through this wildlife sanctuary is Bamner, Kopra and Biarma. Nauradehi has mixed deciduous forests, Vindhyan sandstone and diverse soil. It has red soil, black soil, alluvial soil. Here, it is rich in grasses, herbs. It is basically more of a dry deciduous forest and grasslands, savanna type grasslands, shrubs, bamboo. And it supports over 250 animal species plus 150 plus bird species. Okay. And in these 250 animal species, there are some herbivorous species which are hunted by cheetahs. So there are good food sources for cheetahs also. Okay. So yeah, that's about it. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But it will add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture series. So please do not forget to be consistent and regular. Okay. And do not forget to revise this lecture from the notes. On that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.